Okay, the battery on my other phone ran out, so I'm filming on the iPhone 12 Pro, so you'll see the difference in terms of quality with the 4K and the high res. Anyway, as I was saying, even I know I can be perfectly frank and be critical about myself in the sense that I know that I'm not the world's most articulate person in terms of the way I speak and in terms of grammar or having a good voice. And it's one of the reasons why when I did my early videos on my YouTube channel, it's one of the reasons why you never heard me speak, because sometimes you can hear the way you hear your voice in your head to how you hear yourself if you've recorded your voice on a video or on a dictaphone, and when you hear your voice back, and to you your voice doesn't sound kind of that great, whether or not you think it's too deep or it's too squeaky or your voice sounds common. So I've always been kind of very self-conscious about recording my own voice, and it's only because over the years numerous amount of people have asked me to actually speak on something rather than just show something. So that's kind of what made me say, when I used to do unboxing videos, so my early ones, you would see me do the unboxing video, overlay music over it and kind of not say anything. Or and then now, for example, you see me like I'm not doing that so much. I'm not doing that so much now. When it comes to like if I'm buying a new comic, that I'll just tend to do, because sometimes if it's a new comic I haven't read it myself, so I can't really kind of talk about the story of it, or maybe I don't want to spoil the story of it unless I'm going to do like a like a full-blown review of that particular comic. But if it's like a classic comic that I've read in the past and it's an old comic and it's a big story, then I can kind of talk about it because I know about the actual storyline and stuff like that. So yeah, I can do that, but with the new ones I can't. So I just tend to do like a 2-minute video showing you a preview of the actual comic, overlay it with music. And it's kind of the reason why I don't do things like, say for example, if a lot of YouTubers, when they're doing streams and stuff, they will show their face on camera. I'm not totally confident about doing that kind of thing, show my face, or maybe not yet. Maybe that will change that in the past. Well, in the future, should I say, not the past. Because I'm not 100% kind of confident about that, and then second, I don't have the equipment anyway. Unless I was gonna do like a vlog and you actually show my face, but yeah, I don't. And then I can admit that I'm very kind of self-conscious about the way I am as a human being. I'm not gonna kind of shy away from the way I am as a person. So I've always built myself on integrity and honesty in the way I am. And even when people could sometimes have defined that as me being negative about myself, but it's not. I don't see it as such. And maybe to other people, they may not think that my voice may not be that great, but it's just for me the way I personally feel, and a way that I've always been. When I used to do art, something that I used to do, one of the things I used to do, it's about being able to to critique yourself. So and then as you get more positive comments and say the way you're speaking, or people like what you're saying, you then become more confident. And then so now on a lot of videos now, you're starting to see me speak kind of a lot more, or talk about my passions or personal stuff, or rant about stuff, or movie reviews, which I've always wanted to sit there and to do, or product reviews, but never had the confidence to be able to want to speak about it. And especially if you're not necessarily an expert, or you're trying to convey what you feel about that particular product, so that people sit there and get a good understanding as to what you're talking about. So I've never been good at that. But when you've had 1 or 2 good comments where people said, you know what, keep up the good work and all this, it does start to build up your confidence. So that wall starts to come down. But as I said before, but with someone like Josh Wilden, even in terms of his grammar, the guy talks like as if he's a 5-year-old. And then when you're sitting there and then you're putting stuff in where, for example, where you want something to fail simply because you're on a Marvel show. And as I said earlier in the first part of the video, he's not even a good Marvel show, because he only talks about Marvel stuff when it's doing very well and positive reviews and breaking box office numbers, and obviously still it's worldwide box office is doing well. Then you'll see him kind of praising it. But the minute that it underperforms and it don't do very well, he doesn't even give it the time of day. Now, he did this with the last film that he did this with was with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And then as soon as it went to the second week, where it just dropped off, and obviously when obviously Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came out, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 Volume 3 basically made more money than Quantumania in a way shorter amount of time, and it overtook it. That's when he started talking about it. And the minute that obviously that Quantumania sat there and didn't do very well, he didn't even give it the time of day. He wasn't even bothered. Now again, there's some people that I know that don't want to watch the Flash film, or not going to, because of the fact that this stuff to do with Ezra Miller, that they don't like the character, and that to me is totally fine. I've got no issues with it, because at least you're being honest. It's not about criticizing the film as a whole, but it's about the person that you have a problem with. That's fine, not the film itself. and it's not even as if Josh Whedon, for example, is even doing that, but he's just doing it simply because it's a DC film he wants to fail. As I said before, here's my prediction, and again, people can come back to me on the comment section and they can say this. What he's going, as I said before, he's going to slag off. He will do more articles slagging off the Flash thing, where rumors of stuff are coming out. What's going to happen with the Flash is that I think it is going to be a good movie in terms of people will enjoy it. Will it be the greatest superhero film ever made? Not necessarily. But you hope and fingers crossed that it's going to be enjoyable. And now, we had stories about the rumors about where Tom Cruise said that he watched it and he enjoyed it. And what was the first thing? As if that's true, and we're taking it with a pinch of salt. But let's say, for argument's sake, that it's true. Josh Whedon put out an article saying, "Oh, we'll have to see. We'll have to see about that. What Tom Cruise is right." Now, we all know why he said that, because it was DC. If it was a Marvel film where, say, Tom Cruise has seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, or the next Captain America film, where, as we know, I want to have a quick mention, the Captain America 4 was going to be titled Captain America: The New Order, and that's been changed to Captain America: A Brave New World. I don't know why they've changed it, but they've changed it. But if this had been a Marvel movie, he would have kept his trap shut. As we know, that that's exactly what he would have done. He would have been sitting there and kind of praising, go, "Oh, Tom Cruise said," he would have said, "Oh, Tom Cruise said, oh, the movie is the best movie he's ever seen, and we've got a lot to look forward to." He wouldn't be saying, "Oh, we'll have to wait and see," and we've taken him at his word, or whether that's true or not. He wouldn't be saying that at all. So, as again, he'll be making articles up until the movie release, because obviously in the UK it's June 14th. The rest of the world it's going to be June 16th. So there will be all lots of things as more press stuff comes out. He'll be sitting there slagging off. During when the movie comes out, he'll be sitting there and he will be slagging this off. What's going to happen is, although the movie is going to be enjoyable, it's about expectations, which I've said that if you have too much of a high expectation of something, it then is never going to fulfill in your terms of what you feel about that particular product. I.e., that we saw what happened with Sony's showcase the other day, where people had a high expectation of what they wanted, and they expected all the big games to come out, but most of the games were either CGI. You had the Spider-Man sequel, and then the rest of the games were based, most of them were just multi-platform games. So people were disappointed, even PlayStation things. So it's about expectations. So what's going to happen is it's probably not going to make as much money as what they think is going to happen. It's going to get to the second week and then kind of drop off, especially if there's any other movies coming out. Then he's going to sit there and say DC is doomed and the movie's a flop and 6 things that they should do to change the movie and 6 things that didn't work and what they need, what he feels that they need to sit there to do. Then that will get and then he'll sit there and say, oh, the DCU's in crisis and James Gunn's in problems. Then after that, you've got the Blue Beetle film. I think that's next up. The same thing's going to happen to that before and after and during when the movies come out. He's going to sit there and slag it off and say it's going to not do very well, blah 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 blah, and it's going to sit there and he's going to crap on it and make negative articles. Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. Exactly the same thing's going to happen with that as to what's happened with the Flash movie and the Blue Beetle movie. He's going to sit there and kind of slag it off. And I don't know what other DC movies are up after that. We know that James Gunn's working on Superman Legacy. Obviously, over the couple of months we're going to sit hearing more news, obviously pictures, eventually teaser trailers, casting news, etc, etc, etc. He's going to do the same thing as that, where he's going to sit there and he's going to slag that off as well. And then when it eventually... when it's fully James Gunn's vision of what he wants to do with the DCU, because obviously it's going to be chapter 1 of Gods and Monsters, he's going to sit there and he's going to tear it a new one. And exactly what he's going to do. So people can come back on this video and then comment and say, you know what, Ryan, you were absolutely wrong in what you said. But I'm confident enough to know that this is exactly what's going to happen. Because again, he's so predictable, and the reason why, as I said before, why I keep making videos on him and people's Shills is because as I said earlier on, is that they spoil the passion for other people that they simply just want to be entertained when it comes to a particular movie, any movie. And as I said before, he's not even a good Marvel show, because as I said before, when it's very easy to sit there, jump on the bandwagon when something is successful. But it's a very easy thing not to kind of bother right when it kind of isn't. Look at Nintendo when they released the Nintendo Wii. Obviously not the world's most powerful console, revolutionary in terms of motion controls, and obviously with the other consoles that were around when that came out, it wasn't even the most powerful console, but it was successful. And then obviously you go from the Wii and obviously that didn't do very well. I personally think it was a good console. I still got mine, and I hope to sit there and to find the time to play it more. But then when that didn't do very well and that underperformed due to problems with the console, and, you know, there's various different issues that went on with that particular console. Everybody said that Nintendo was doom and gloom, that Nintendo were finished and they need to be bought up by Sony, or, you know, just do third-party stuff, and Mario needs to prepare another consoles, etc, etc, etc. Then they released the Switch, right? And then the rest is history, where the Switch is evolved an underdog in terms of the power compared to the other consoles around, like the PS4 and the Xbox One. And even now with the PS5 and the Series X still holding its own, still being hugely successful. And now obviously there's the upcoming stuff with the successor to the Switch, which no one kind of knows about, but obviously we're going to be probably hearing news about that soon. But everybody was so quick to write off Nintendo and say, oh, they were doom and gloomed, and everybody was quick to jump on the bandwagon and kicking a man while they're already down. And as soon as obviously Nintendo was successful, and I've even had people saying to me, oh, they should have delayed it, made it more powerful, it's too expensive, this, that, and the other. Oh, it's not going to do very well, blah, 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 blah. And then they should have released it at this date and done this and made it more powerful. And Nintendo hit it out of the park, proved everybody wrong. And now that it's successful and it does very well now, everybody's pretty much got one now, even if you still have a next generation console. So it's very easy to jump on something when something is already is successful, but nobody wants to be there along the ride for the actual journey in being successful. People only want to sit there and be around you when you are successful. So it kind of just shows you how, you know, people can be. But as I said before with Josh Whedon, if say he just disappeared and stopped writing articles, or more people just called him out on his bull about what he's doing, and more people were willing to sit there to open their eyes, not listen to what I have to say, because you have to look for the evidence themselves, and then see what this guy is doing. Then I wouldn't sit there and have to make these videos. But for me, it's about opening it's with anything in this world. It's about opening your eyes and thinking for yourself and seeing things for how they really are, not for what somebody is telling you how to think or telling you what to like. I mean, when it's things that I like, where it's things I like to eat, things I like to buy, what I like to wear, how I like to dress, I don't sit there and let people tell me what I should do. There's nothing wrong with taking advice from somebody, but at the end of the day, it's me that has to make that decision, whether that decision is good or bad. But I just don't like the way he does it. Now, I urge people to go on to comicbookmovie.com. Check it out. Check out any articles that he looks at. I know, obviously, the clicks he's kind of getting views and money for that. But I'm urging people to sit there, look for the evidence yourself. Go onto comicbookmovie.com. Look on his articles. See for yourself. And see what he does when it's a DC related comic book article, or when he writes a Marvel article, and then judge for yourself in black and white as to what this guy does. Because as I said before, it's not just with the comic books, it's with media in general, where you have people that influence people into doing things or to saying things. And I did do a video about on social media where people can post misinformation, and it's the kind of one of the negative things about social media, where people can post misinformation about a particular thing, and then people believe it, rather than sitting there and doing the research and then checking it for themselves to see whether or not, or I call it fact checking, to see whether or not the actual information that's been put out is actually true or not. Now, how many times have we seen where people say, oh, they heard a rumour about this game is coming out and blah, blah, blah is coming out, and then they've heard it from a reliable source. And then you end up finding out that it's crap, because it's going to be a complete load of rubbish. Or sometimes when it comes to football, soccer, in the UK, where they'll say, oh, they've heard a story about that a certain football club is looking at this player and they're going to buy him for this amount, and then the player's interested or the manager's interested in wanting to go to that club. And then you end up finding out that it's been a complete and utter load of old rubbish. Because anybody can sit there and can say anything, and it's not necessarily even completely true. I mean, you as an individual, you'll just soak it up and then just believe that what you're being told is that it is 100% true, rather than sitting there and then checking for yourself or going to a concrete, reliable source and whether or not something is true or not. And that's why, as I said, with my YouTube channel, what you'll get from me is 100% honesty. I'm going to sit there and tell you how something is. It doesn't matter whether or not I'm a particular fan of that company or product. If I sit there and I feel that you're not getting money for value, or it doesn't taste good, or the product isn't of good value, you are going to get my view in it. I'm not going to sit there, and I'm not one of these guys that is going to sugarcoat what I'm saying about a particular thing. You've heard me sit there and slag off DC in terms of how they treated the Wally West Flash and Dick Grayson, the Nightwing, in terms of what DC have done with what they did with his character in the comics and where they treated both those characters. You see me sit there and review McDonald's products, and I've turned and said, at that price, I don't think it's kind of very good. Even at full price, I think it doesn't taste good. It could do more seasoning. I don't think the price of it is kind of it's kind of not worth the price that it actually is. I've even complained about, I think that McDonald's, they've increased the price of it. The price of the products, I think it's been a bit of a rip-off, or the quality hasn't been good. But then there have been times when I sat there and said, you know what, I think this particular McDonald's product is good, but the only negative side is that, you know, maybe it might be a little bit, it could do with being a little bit cheaper. Or there's been the video games that have been popular where everyone has liked, and I turned and said, you know what, right? It's I played it, couldn't get into it, wasn't my cup of tea. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad game, but for me, I couldn't get into it. But maybe you'll get into it, or other people have. Even when something's been popular, I haven't liked it. There's even been video games and even movies and TV shows where they haven't been very popular or overlooked, and I've sat there and said, look, I think these shows have been or movies or video games have been very good, but it just gets overlooked. Or you have a video game where you wouldn't necessarily pay full price for it because there's probably flaws with it, or not a very long game. But when it's come down to a sale, or you get it second hand, or a reasonable price, the game I've said, that particular game, I've turned and said, you know what, actually worth still picking up at that cheap price, but not at a full price. Or if it's on Game Pass and it's for free, and you have to be subscribed to it, or even wherever it's on a PlayStation, whatever their thing is called. So, I'm gonna sit there and call something. I'm gonna call something for what it kind of really is. I'm gonna sit there and be, honest by what I say about a particular product. I'm not gonna, as I said before, I'm not going to sugarcoat something just for the sake of it. And I know that if I was being negative about everything and hating anything, I know I probably would get my subscription on my YouTube channel would probably be double or treble what it is now. My views would be a lot higher if I was just sitting there and just being hateful and just being negative and just all clickbait and just being negative. But I can't do that. That's not me. I try to see the positives in everything. In everything, I weigh up the positive. I weigh up the pros. I weigh up the cons. Same, whether it's a movie, food, video game, anything. Right? I mean, your hope is that the pros outweigh the cons. I don't want something to fail. I don't want McDonald's to buy a product from McDonald's and then have to say, oh, it tastes like crap, because I used to like McDonald's a lot in the past. It was a part of my childhood. I don't want to sit there and waste my money on buying something that basically isn't very good, and I keep going back there, or I get put off by not wanting to go over again. So, you know what I mean? So I know that if I'd been more negative and been more like Josh Wilding, for argument's sake, my viewership would be a lot higher. But I'd rather sit there and have a small user base and be small, never grow like massively, than to sit there and to conform and then just to clickbait and then just to hate on anything and everything, just to sit there to be successful and to get clicks or views. I have to be. It's about integrity. I have to be able to sit there and think to myself, you know what, right? I'm doing something with a clear conscience. I'm being honesty. People, I hope that people, like to feel that I can be honest. Because I know that some people that get, sometimes people get sponsored by something, and say somebody gets a product by a company, and then people sit there and think, oh, they're shilling for that company because, that if they turn around and say this product is bad, that they're not going to get sent any more products. Or some people get sent movies or video games or video game items, and if they don't praise it by that company, then that company's not going to give them a product anymore. And I know that's not the case with all YouTubers or any other content creator. But even if I became big and companies started giving me, sending me stuff, right? If it meant I'm not gonna bootlick it just because I'm getting it for free, even if the particular thing was expensive. If I sat there and then I was given like a big game from a big company, and I was giving it way early, and then they, and I didn't think it was, as long as I wasn't breaking the embargo, and I felt like the game wasn't kind of right in my opinion, even if I was in the minority, and it meant that by me doing that, or even with a movie review, I was sent to see a movie early, and I felt like, I didn't enjoy it, these are the problems that I felt with it, and it meant that, they looked at it and think, right, okay, we're not going to send them to see that movie, to send them to see movies or sending products again. So and it meant I had to go and pay for these things myself, which, by the way, hasn't happened, so will be it. Because I can say to myself, you know what, I can go to bed at night with a clear conscience, knowing that I've been honest and I've been upfront by how I feel about something, rather than sitting there and telling people a lie. Because I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right at all. With, you know, you're kind of lying to people just to sit there to get views and to get clicks, just to sit there to be popular. People want. I know that when you sit there and you have these terms of integrity and honesty and trying to see the good in everything, people sit there and think, you know, like want to think, oh, you're just being soft and you're a lefty and you're woke and all this nonsense. And I don't think that's true. I think that's absolutely silly. What's wrong with having honesty in this world? Whether it's with products, relationships, being honest, integrity, and just being upfront about how you truly feel about something. And I think it's one of the reasons why people have so many problems with government, especially in the UK, where you have our Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, where he's saying that he wants to be a man of integrity, but then you keep seeing the people that he has in his cabinet doing the complete opposite, and then when they're doing bad stuff, he's not doing anything about it. Now, how does this look to people when you're that's why the old saying goes, practice what you preach. And it's a similar thing with some religious people, where they will preach to you about, oh, this is what you should do, this is how you should behave, and because God tells you to do this, and whether it's the Quran or the Bible or whatever forms of different religions. Because I'm not going to go over and picking, because obviously that's a story for another day when it comes to people fighting over which religion is right. But you get, how many times have you seen religious people in religious things where they sit there preaching to you how you should behave, and then they're the same ones are doing dodgy things themselves? You should practice what you preach. That's the way I raise, and that's the way I always will be. Even if I don't get anywhere with the remainder of the years of my life, I'm always going to be and be honest about something. And it may not make me popular, whether it's with people or even on my own channel or on the different social media platforms that are available. But it's about being honest, and I live in hope that people sit there and can see that I'm a man of honesty and a man of integrity. And all of these things, as I said before, I do not see in Josh Wilding at all. And the site it works for comic book movie, it calls itself comic book movie, even though that's kind of a bit weird, because some of the stuff they post isn't even anything to do with comics, which is weird in itself. But you can't, to me, it's a ridiculous thing to call yourself comicbookmovie.com when you're clearly shilling towards Marvel. And you can clearly see it. As I said before, go onto the site, look at it. You know, I'm not asking you to subscribe to it or to check it out day in, day out. But look for yourself. Judge things for yourself. And you'll see these things as to what people do. And as I said before, think for yourself. I like to hope that people sit there and like the stuff I do. But I don't want to sit there and brainwash people into thinking what I'm saying is gospel and you have to listen to me. I just want people to sit there to be able to open their eyes, and that's why I keep making these videos in regards of Josh Wilding, because it's about exposing people for what they really are. And that is that they just shill, they're just spoiling the enjoyment of things for other people, and they want things to fail because it doesn't conform to what they want something to be. And then one day, I hope that people do see the way this guy is, and then I won't have to make videos like this in regards of people like him. Because as before, it seems like people may see obsessed with the guy, which I'm not. I'm just a very passionate person, which I don't like seeing people that want things to fail. You've seen it with Tears of the Kingdom, where you've had PlayStation owners that are tearing into the game simply because the game's done very well and because it's not a PlayStation game. That to me is absolutely stupid. If you're a real video gamer across the platforms, you should be happy, regardless of whether it's with Nintendo and then with the game, with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Whether it's with Sony's on games, or whether it's with Xbox. Currently now you've got Street Fighter 6 that now people are hugely enjoying and playing, and that's good. I'm glad it's doing well and it's been successful. I don't want that to actually fail. So yeah, that's my rant over. Hopefully, and people will get the message in regards of Josh Wilden, who just, as I said before, just shills for anything related to Marvel.